Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. The best way to make money on a small farm is to diversify your channels of income. And when you diversify through livestock, you're accidentally participating in regenerative agriculture, a very good thing. More on that later. In this video, I'm laying out the easiest animals that will give the greatest ROI. We're aiming for $10,000. Not enough to live on, but definitely enough to improve your quality of life. So let's start with chickens. Chickens are an amazing and obvious animal to look at when you're looking at profitable small farming because they're a dual income animal, both eggs and meat. Let's start with laying hens. Eggs are maybe the coolest product in the entire world. You have this bird, this kind of fat, flightless, docile bird that is the closest living relative to the T-Rex. And we've domesticated it to a point to where we reliably get this nutrient-dense, delicious egg almost every single day from a chicken. Pretty cool thing. And people are willing to pay premium prices for premium products. Farm fresh eggs are absolutely premium. Okay, let's get into the economics of eggs. This whole exercise is about starting small. So for this exercise, let's assume a small flock of 14 laying hens. The goal here is to be able to sell 4 dozen eggs a week. And with 14 laying hens, you will absolutely produce enough eggs to do that. And it will give you about 1 or 2 dozen for you and your family to enjoy on your own. Okay, so if you're selling 4 dozen eggs a week, that means you need about 7 eggs a day. So any eggs over 7, you get to keep put in your fridge. But the first 7 eggs every day are going to go in a box because you're selling 4 dozen eggs a week. Now, $7 a dozen, I think is pretty darn fair pricing for farm fresh eggs. So let's stick with that. $7 per dozen eggs, 4 dozen eggs a week, 52 weeks in a year. That brings us to $1,456. So that's your first paycheck. Now let's talk about the economics of meat birds. Okay, meat chickens. This is the assumption that you'll be raising them in a chicken tractor like this one. So these chicken tractors can technically hold, I think, 25 chickens, but let's assume for conservative numbers here that you only have 20 in there. It could be that some of the chickens don't make it to processing. It could be that you want to keep some of them yourself. It could be the same reason that I have, which is I just don't like stocking it to max capacity. So let's assume you've got 20 chickens per tractor. Now, some advice. If you're doing chickens in a tractor, if you're going to do 1 tractor, you might as well do 2 because it is not double the amount of work, but you will get double the amount of product. 20 chickens per tractor, 2 tractors, 40 chickens, $25 a chicken. That's an easy $1,000. But you can and should do this multiple times per year. I recommend doing a round in the spring. Take the summer off because the summer's hot. You don't want to be out there. And depending on where you live, it could be too hot for your birds to do it successfully. Pick it back up in the fall. So you've got your 2 tractors in the spring, your 2 tractors in the fall. Together, that's 80 birds total. Each bird sold for $25. Comes to a whopping $2,000. So you've got your 14 year-round laying hens, and then you've got your 2 chicken tractors that you've done twice a year. Those initiatives together will get you $3,456. Not a bad paycheck for chickens, but let's get into my favorite animal, which is the sheep. I don't raise wool sheep. The 2 products that my sheep produce are meat and breeding stock. So let's say for this scenario where you're on your small farm or your homestead, you can probably comfortably raise 6 ewes on that farm. Let's conservatively say that you can get 8 lambs, 8 spring lambs out of those 6 ewes. That's pretty conservative because in my experience, at least when I was breeding Dorper, we were twinning or tripleting more often than we were singling. So in this scenario, only 2 of your 6 have to twin. It's pretty conservative. So you've got 8 lambs, okay? 4 rams and 4 ewes. It never turns out that way, but let's just say you've got 4 and 4. Those are your 2 products. 4 rams, that's your meat. 4 ewes, that's your breeding stock. For your meat sheep, I am a big fan of selling the entire lamb. That way your customer can have it butchered the way that they want. And I just like the idea of honoring the whole animal anytime you get that chance. So when I sell a full lamb, I do it at a wholesale price of $450 for the entire lamb. Some people debate me on that price. I usually get people saying that that's too low, but I think it's because they don't realize how little meat you actually get from a yearling lamb. For me, for my Dorper, when I was doing that, we had hanging weights of 50 to 55 pounds. But let's just assume, you're getting 50 pounds back. That's still $9 a pound. Ground lamb, that's probably what you pay for ground lamb, but your nice cuts, you're not paying $9 a pound for, grass-fed, grass-finished lamb in that way. So $450 for a ram. I think it's a good price. Okay, now comes the breeding stock. Remember in this scenario, we have 4 ewes. Now, these are not proven ewes, right? So a proven ewe with papers that has full blood or purebred status, they can sell for quite a lot. I've seen 4 figures for good ewes. These ewes are not proven. I like the number of $550 per unproven ewe. Again, that's for a papered animal, a mutt or something else, or a poor quality sheep. Honestly, poor quality sheep probably just shouldn't get sold. They should just go to meat. But let's pretend all 4 of your ewes are nice. $550 per each of those sheep. So you've got your 4 meat sheep at $450 a piece. That's $1,800. Then you have your 4 ewes at $550 a piece. That's $2,200. Combined, that's $4,000 for your sheep operation. Not bad for just 6 ewes. Now let's get into a very fun homesteading animal, and that is pigs. Last year, my wife and I, we raised 2 red wattle pigs, and in less than 6 months, our freezers were overflowing with the amount of pork we got. If you want to make a lot of money through pork in a short period of time with a little bit of land, pigs are a great way to do that. Okay, so we picked up 2 weaned pigs in February last year. Now, a weaned pig, I think, is either 60 or 90 days old, around there. We got them in February. By July, they were bacon. Okay, so that's 5 months from start to finish. A lot less time than sheep. Those 2 pigs that we had in those 5 months, we ended up with 420 pounds of product back from the butcher where we sent our pig. So again, in the spirit of let's be conservative and everything, let's say your pigs in this imaginary 10K scenario give you 400 pounds between the 2. Okay, 200 pounds from each pig. If you're selling a chunk of that meat wholesale, $7 a pound is a really conservative number. So to put that in perspective, when I sell ground pork, I was selling that for only $6 a pound. However, the bacon, which there's never as much bacon as you hope on a pig, the bacon I was selling for $17 a pound, and pork chops and other cuts I was selling for $10 or more per pound. So that $7 per pound average, again, I think is pretty darn conservative. But you take the 2 pigs, which is 400 pounds of meat, times that by $7 per pound, that's $2,800 that you're getting from 2 pigs in less than 5 months of work. Okay, so recapping. From eggs, we're making $1,456. Meat birds, and even $2,000. Meat lambs, $1,800. Breeding lambs, $2,200. Pork, $2,800. That is a grand total of $10,256. So there you go. We did it. A reminder, that's with 14 laying hens, 80 meat chickens, 6 ewes that produce 8 lambs, and 2 pigs. You could do all of this on 5 acres or less, with sheep being really the only concern, because sheep need a lot more space for grass. Disclaimer time. You're not going to make $10,000 in profit in this scenario. Most of that money, I'm talking, especially if this is your first time, 60 to 80% of that money is going to go to startup costs like feed, fencing, infrastructure, breeding stock, supplies to build your own chicken tractors, etc., etc., etc. There's a lot of upfront costs with this. And so when you're getting into livestock, you need to think, what is the unfair advantage that I have to raise this livestock? I've got 3 examples to kind of paint that picture. One is my neighbor that lives right over there. She works at a grocery store, so when the fruits or vegetables or any produce is past its prime, she gets it for free. When she was raising pigs, that's what she was finishing her pigs on. Obviously, you can't fatten a pig up entirely with that, but it makes a good chunk of their calories and diet. Another unfair advantage. A neighbor I had years ago when I lived in Utah, he had an insane hookup for very, very, very cheap alfalfa hay. I've never seen that price anywhere else ever. And he had dairy goats, and he would sell the milk at a premium. So he's buying hay super duper cheap, using it to feed his goats, selling the milk at a high markup. The third one, not someone I knew, someone I saw online. They had a relationship with a fish hatchery, so they got all the guts and waste from the fish hatchery. They fed it to their chickens and their pigs. Okay, those are probably the best eggs, some of the best pork you could ever buy. And they were getting that stuff for free. So think about, what is your unfair advantage? Because the margins are so razor thin on livestock that you really need to lean into that. Another tip as you're doing this, consider the fact that these enterprises should overlap on each other. Well, let's give you an example. So you've got your laying flock. Chickens love to scratch and peck around, and your pigs will love to make a mess. So your pigs should be in one spot for a set period of time. They'll destroy it. They'll poop everywhere. They'll till it all up. It'll be a freaking mess by the time they're done. Move your laying flock there because they're going to love to scratch around. They're going to look for the food that the pigs didn't finish. Some of the undigested corn that the chickens are going to find. There's going to be tons of bugs if it's the summertime. I mean, where the pigs go, the flies follow. Your chickens will help clean that up and they will love it. Another example is, let's say you're pulling your chicken tractor. Put that chicken tractor on your pasture, okay? I promise you, 60 days after the chickens leave that spot of grass, it is going to be the greenest, tallest grass that you have on your entire pasture. And it might benefit your sheep's health. Depending on how many tractors you have and how many sheep you have, you could help reduce the parasite load by the chickens, breaking some parasite cycles on some spots on your pasture. So all of these initiatives, when they stack on top of each other, it is regenerative agriculture. Livestock are an integral part to regenerative agriculture. I don't think that there really is a way to heal the soil without animal inputs. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Animals heal soil. Livestock heals soil, and soil health is where all of the nutrients in our food come from. So when you've got livestock, you are participating in this beautiful holistic cycle of regenerative agriculture. And when you stack those enterprises on top of each other, it's just a symphony of soil. I have done each of these enterprises myself. In fact, last year, we basically had all three of these enterprises going at once. Did I walk away with $10,000 in my pocket? No. Why? Because I ate the food myself, okay? If your goal is to feed your family, your homestead is going to look a lot different from if your goal is to make a profit. In fact, homesteading means feeding your family. Farming means making a profit. I think a lot of people get that confused and they're like, how can I make money on a homestead? That's called a farm. Now, I'm not saying you can't make money, but it's where is your primary intent? Feed yourself or feed your community? For me, I love stocking my fridge and my freezer with animal products that we've grown. And I sell quite a bit of it too. I sell to recoup the costs of things like fencing and feed, et cetera, et cetera. Let me share with you my greatest fear. The thing that I am scared of most is that one of you who has watched this far into the video will think, this is so cool. I am so excited. I'm going to buy, 50 chickens. I'm going to buy a small flock of sheep. I'm going to raise a half a dozen pigs. I'm going to make $50,000 this year. It won't work. I promise you. Unless you've got nothing else in your life going on and you have a lot of money to throw at this, it's not going to work. It's a slippery slope because these are good things and you want to get into it. But when you do that, you will fail because you're going to participate in what I call the spinning wheel of death. It's one of 6 homestead mindsets that are the reasons that homesteads fail. I've got 5 more reasons in this video. If you heed the advice in this homestead, you're going to be better than 80 or 90% of the other homesteaders out there because you don't want to burn out. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.